You know what no one in the government wants to talk about? No one in the government wants to contemplate, and the Biden plan does not even consider nuclear power. The issue with power and the power grid is we're trying to make electricity. And typically what happens is at a very, very minimal level, you take a magnet, you take a metal bar, an iron bar, and you wrap it tightly with copper. And then you take a magnet and you move the magnet back and forth across this copper and the iron. And what it causes is an electrical current. And a power plant essentially is designed to make steam. For the steam to turn a turbine of magnets around a copper iron core that generates electricity. That's the basics. That's the basics. And you're trying with either a fossil fuel plant or a dam or a wind turbine or a nuclear power plant, you're trying to heat up water, or with a dam, build up water pressure powerful enough to turn the turbine. But you're trying to, with the nuclear power or the coal, to boil water, to then spin a turbine, to then produce electricity. This is all about the best way to produce electricity. Solar panels do it differently. Now, some solar panels actually boil water and push turbines that way. Most of them do not. They convert the sun's energy into electricity. But otherwise, you're trying to spin a turbine and trying to generate electricity. And how do you do it? Do you do it with fossil fuels, or do you do it with nuclear? Nuclear is far cleaner, it's super safe now, but we don't invest in it in this country. Once you build a nuclear power plant, you've got about 80 years of cheap renewable energy. Sustainable, I should say, not necessarily renewable. Nowadays, of course, you've got breeder reactors that can take the nuclear waste and use it to create more fuel, and you've got a near perpetual energy source. But the government doesn't want to contemplate that. They want to get rid of coal and fossil fuels. They want to get rid of natural gas. They want to get rid of oil, but they don't want to replace it with nuclear energy. The problem is we've got a massive amount of energy required in this country to keep it running, to keep lights on, to keep iPhones and laptops and everything else charged, to keep the lights on. You got a massive energy supply in this country, or energy need in this country. You got to have supply. And you've got to have something called base load power. Base load power is the power that can come on at any time, day or night, regardless of whether the sun is shining or not, or the wind is blowing or not, or the water is flowing or not. And nuclear gives you that. But the Biden administration, it can't be a serious environmental plan if they're not contemplating using nuclear power. It's not. The idea that they want to drive up prices so that you are forced to curb your behavior tells you everything you need to know. This isn't really about cleaning up the environment. This is about destroying the capitalist way of life. This is about destroying the free market. This is about raising prices on the poor. It's always about punishing the poor. Listen, when it's too difficult for you to be able to get out of your house and fill up your car with gas, you got to buy electric. That's going to limit the reach of the poor to be able to travel unless they can get on public transportation. The rich will always have their gas guzzlers. The rich will always have their private jets. The rich will always have means to move beyond you. So when these environmentalist policies flow down from Washington, D.C., keep in mind, it is about punishing the poor. It is about controlling the behavior of the poor. They could adapt, but it's the billionaires who have built their houses on the beach, and they blame you for carbon destroying their house and putting them in a hurricane zone or a flood zone that didn't used to exist. The extreme weather climate change phenomenon. They blame you for it, and you've got to bear the burden of it. That's the Biden plan. The Biden plan will not do very much to the rich. It will do a lot to the poor.